Hey, what's up? I'm Guy.
I'm John.
It's our YouTube channel. Subscribe to this channel and give this video a like.
Podcast below in the description.
All right, Middlecoff, this is not just GM season. It's not just head coach season. It's also coordinator season. And the Niners have a couple guys that we've been talking about now for a couple of years who are not coordinators, and you can't stop them from becoming coordinators. That's young LaFleur and Mike McDaniel. It feels like it's a matter of time before both of those guys are coaching somewhere else, doesn't it?
Yeah, as offensive coordinators, because technically that's not what they do right now with Kyle, right? So they would, I think they make a lot of money now. So it wouldn't be, they might actually both make like seven figures, and they deserve it. I mean, they are very, very highly thought of in the NFL. But if both those guys become coordinators, especially if one of them does for Robert Saleh and maybe another guy goes with another coach, Arthur Smith, the coach at Tennessee, the offensive coordinator who runs a Kyle-like system in terms of the run game and just the play action stuff, you could see the amount of people running this offense almost double in an off season. And why would you not, like that to me, to an owner, hey, I'm going to run Kyle Shanahan, McVay, and LaFleur's offense, is something that every owner wants. It's why Arthur Smith is interviewing for all these jobs for sure. So it's going to become very, very in vogue, which to me speaks to Kyle, like just inevitable. The more and more people do things, the more and more defenses get a beat on stuff, the more and more things just eventually slow down, and you just keep pivoting, which the one thing Kyle is very good at is always having additions to what he does.
Yeah.
To me, he's Andy Reid that way, where it's just Andy feels like he does it sometimes just for fun. Like, yeah, I just want to run this sweet play that I thought of at 11 at night. It's not based necessarily like on an offense. I mean, it is, but it's more just he does wrinkles to keep mixing it up. Kyle just adds wrinkles to his base plays that, like, he just has a true base offense. To me, Coach Reid, for example, is much more like, yeah, this is working now, we'll just throw it a bunch. Kyle's like, wants to run the ball, and everything off the pass is play action, right? That to me is the crutch, the base of his offense.
Daniel Jeremiah tweeted on Wednesday, interesting subplot to this hiring cycle is the race for assistant coaches. Multiple top candidates plan on running the Shanahan scheme. They will be competing for the same names to run the offense and coach the O-line. This is what you're talking about. There was also a rap sheet report specifically that Mike McDaniel was a candidate to become the new offensive coordinator in Miami. So that's not even a new head coach. That's just Miami needs a new offensive coordinator. So that's a specific name, right? But you're not even talking about the Niners are going to lose two coaches. You're talking about just more and more teams are running this offense. The more teams that run it, the more coordinators that run it for head coaches, the more coordinators that run it, and the more it succeeds, the more those guys become head coaches. And so this, I think, takes us to the next level of Kyle, which, like you said, he evolves anyway. But what does Andy Reid have? Andy Reid has an elite quarterback. The Packers, it's explosive. They have an elite quarterback. I think the more people that do it, and I think your point is like the more people that do it, the more people that spend time trying to figure out how to defend it, the more you have to be ready with your next pitch. And to me, it puts a little more emphasis on the Niners needing an elite quarterback. Everyone needs an elite quarterback. We're not breaking news with that. But it does feel like with this offense, you can kind of get away with not emphasizing that as much, whereas maybe the more the league does this, the more the guys with the best quarterbacks will be able to elevate this offense.
Well, I think one thing that the Josh Allen and Mahomes can do, regardless what the game plan is going into that week, if they get into a position where they have to go 4 and 5 wide and just let the guy become like, you know, a Mike Leach-like quarterback in the sense of just throwing it every down, they can do that without hesitation. And the Packers, for example, is the best example of this is Kyle's offense, but because, and again, you're not going to find an Aaron Rodgers. I mean, he's one of the top. I mean, hell, when it's all said and done, if he wins the Super Bowl this year, could go down as like third or fourth best quarterback of all time.
You could even argue, I think, if you were starting an organization from scratch, you would take Aaron Rodgers ahead of Tom Brady.
At like 23 years old.
Yeah, just you're going to get one of these quarterbacks for their career. Which one are you going to take?
Yeah.
And then like whichever coach you have,
maybe you Chris Sims has always been adamant that he was the guy. Like he's the greatest.
It's crazy to
ever.
say Aaron's the greatest quarterback to ever play the game.
I don't either. And that's what I think helps LaFleur. Like, this offense works, but when you get into a pinch, what can happen? Like, I don't know, Rodgers bails you out, like just makes an incredible throw. And that's the one thing Kyle hasn't had with the 49ers, and it got him into somewhat of a pinch. Like, if they had a great quarterback, let's not even go great. If they had like an above average, like Pro Bowl level guy, they might blow the Chiefs out. Because remember, they were up 20-10. It's not like Jimmy was even doing that much. If they had a Pro Bowl level guy, maybe they're up 30-10. Because remember, the Chiefs were playing like dog shit. They were just not good. Mahomes was off. They were there to kind of get killed. But the Niners, Jimmy wasn't as good.
Let's put a name on it. If they had Matt Stafford.
Yeah, they win that game. Assuming Matt Stafford, had been their quarterback all year.
I'm just saying like that level of player, right?
Yes, Deshaun Watson, whoever. And you're the better team for the first 3 quarters dramatically. You're kicking their ass. And the other quarterback's throwing picks. So I think we've just learned, like, Jimmy's average when he plays. Give or take. He can be a little above and he can be a little below.
Yeah.
But that's just kind of what he is. And they need to find a way to get a more talented guy, because this offense is going to just get, when I say easier to stop, I just mean more teams are going to be comfortable seeing it. The one thing I notice immediately when you play this offense and a team like, we prepared all week for it. And then the first couple drives is like play action, dump off. You're like, God, guys are wide open in that little boot dump off and no one knows what they're doing. And if it's like Khalil Mack is on the other side, he's like chasing the guy down. It just messes with you immediately. But if you see it every day in practice, who do the Niners just dominate? It's the Rams. They run the same exact offense. The Packers, I know this year was the Corona team, but they're comfortable playing that team, because you just become a product of your environment in the NFL. And who do you practice against every day? There ain't 800 people on an NFL roster. You end up going against ones-on-ones, even if it's kind of walkthrough-y stuff. You just like, that's what you just get a comfort level with.
I'll tell you this, we talked about this a lot to your point on the Rams. If the Rams had a quarterback that could do some of the things that above average plus type quarterbacks do, it would be a lot harder to stop I don't know if the Niners would have the Rams number in the same way, the Rams offense number in the same way, right? I think part of it is they know what's supposed to happen, and they know the quarterback hasn't been able to do a lot outside of what's supposed to happen.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good example. There's always a reason to get a really good quarterback. You don't need a reason to get a really good quarterback, but
the one thing that will happen though, Guy, is that if all these guys go, right, Saleh gets a job, brings a guy. One of the other guys, whoever McDaniels at LaFleur, goes somewhere as well. Peters becomes the GM of Carolina. There'd be a lot of people out there that have a decent idea of what John and Kyle think about just the draft / quarterback situation, big picture. Even if they don't have the details and the draft boards, like, they'd have a good idea. It's not like everything just stays in-house this year. There'd just be a lot of information out there in the ether, which I'd say makes it a little more challenging. That just organically people are going to know, they're done on Jimmy. They either want to get a young guy or do this. Like before, if all these guys had stayed, like last year, no one knows except those guys, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, the two great yes. And the thing with Peters, we talked about this before, is like, God, he gets to leave before the draft.
It's the deal, man.
There's two great elevators in the sport, a great coach and a great quarterback. Like in terms of individual pieces, you can acquire and immediately change your franchise. Great coach and a great quarterback have an inordinate effect on your organization versus what any one other person can do for your organization.
Yeah. They just got to find that guy. And whether it's the draft or whether it's trading for Stafford, we've been talking about this ad nauseum, so it's not we're kind of beating a dead horse at this time. But you can't, like, the more and more every day that goes by, like, Jimmy Garoppolo's not going to be on this team. I am very confident of that. I get more confident by the day.
Maybe the more days that go by, there's somebody else who would want him too.
Yeah. The more Patriots can get jobs.
The more Patriots and the more guys that run this offense go, I don't have a superstar, but maybe Jimmy, I can get him for a 3rd-round pick. He can come do that.
You're right. It definitely makes him more valuable when his value. Would you say right now Jimmy Garoppolo's value in his NFL career is at an all-time low?
I would say that, yes. Yeah, lower than it was last offseason.
By a mile.
The problem is that everyone else watches the film too, John.
Yeah.
Like we say about Tua.
You trade me a 7 for Tua. It's like, yeah, we watched him play, bro.